like
think
one
they-
of them.
I think it'll be, is it winless still?
I do.
Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, November 14th meeting of the Xenia City Council. I'd like to pause at this time for the mayor to lead us in prayer, and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Wesley Smith.
Let's stand.
Would you stand with us, please?
Our gracious Lord, thank you that you have brought us out tonight. Thank you for giving us another day of life. We are dependent on you for each and every breath, and I pray that we would always keep that in front of us. I pray that tonight would be a night where we can get some things done and that we do it well. Pray that we will communicate clearly and graciously, respectfully. I pray that we will, as leaders of the community, constantly remember that we are stewards for you of this community. It is not about us, it is about stewarding well and caring for the people around us well. Thank you for the opportunities that you give us, and we thank you so much for just the time that we have to accomplish this agenda. And yeah, we just give all this to you. In your name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mayor Mays, and thank you, Councilman Smith. Mr. Duke, would you please call the roll?
Vice President Wallace,
Here.
Councilman Urschel, Councilman Lauterbach,
Here.
Councilman Smith,
Here.
Councilman Dean,
Here.
Mayor Mays,
Here.
President Engel.
The chair will entertain motions regarding
Yes.
President Engel and Mr. Urschel.
Yes, sir. I'll make a motion to excuse both Councilman Urschel, who is unavailable tonight, and President Engel, who is absent for work.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we excuse both President Smith and Councilman Urschel. Mr. Duke, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Lauterbach,
Aye.
Councilman Smith,
Aye.
Councilman Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Mays,
Hi.
Vice President Wallace.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And I'd like to welcome to the meeting tonight the councilman-elect, our councilwoman-elect, Rebecca Dean. Ms. Dean, would you please just stand and wave at us this evening? You'll be changing seats in January and up here, and we welcome you here tonight.
Thank you.
It's the time now for approval of the minutes for the October 24th, 2019 regular meeting. And don't we also have the special session meeting on November 5th? But we'll do those one at a time, or can we do them at?
The November 5th minutes, we're actually asking you to hold those in advance tonight. They'll be presented to council at your next meeting for approval. So if you could
Fantastic,
just
ma'am.
do the October 24th minutes.
Fantastic. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we approve the minutes of the October 24th regular meeting. And I'll just mention that we've not approved the minutes for the November 5th meeting because that's being held in abeyance at this time. Are you ready for the question? Mr. Duke, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Lauterbach,
Aye.
Councilman Smith,
Aye.
Councilman Dean,
Aye.
Mayor Mays,
Aye.
Vice President Wallace.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next is special presentations, and the agenda says that we have none for tonight, so we have no special presentations. Is there anyone in the audience who would tonight would like to address council? If so, please step up to the podium and state your name and address for the record. We ask that you limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to address council tonight? Anyone at all? Seeing none, we'll move right along to old business, and there is none. So we'll go into public hearings, and ordinance 2019 is the second reading, amending sections 1236. Well, actually, we have no public hearing, so we'll go right into ordinances. Ordinance 2019, amending section 123610B2 and 123610C2 of the City of Xenia and Land Use Code, and that was introduced originally by Councilman Urschel on 10/24, and in his absence, I will move the approval.
And Mr. Chairman, I apologize, I had an error on your agenda. It's actually 1921. My apologies, that was my fault.
1921,
Ordinance 1921.
when it was introduced?
I had ordinance 1919.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So it's 2019-21?
21.
Okay,
But I don't think.
okay. Very good. Okay, is there a motion? Well, I made the motion on behalf of Councilman Urschel. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilman Louderback. Would you, is there any questions? Any comments?
I do believe that a public hearing does need to be held on this topic, so.
At this time?
Yes, yes, so we
Okay.
do need to hold a public hearing.
Thank you very much. Given that enlightenment, I'll declare the public hearing open and ask if there are any comments in the affirmative who would like to approve this item. If so, please step to the microphone, give your name and address for the record, and make your comments.
That is for you. Mhm. Yes.
My name's Melanie Atlee. We first of all, we just want to thank you guys. You know, we're getting this far and listening and trying to work with us, and you know, we just want to keep doing business in Xenia and you know, live and keep raising our kids and just bring more people into Xenia like we have been. But most of all, we just want to thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else want to speak in the affirmative? Is there anyone who would like to speak against the approval of this item? If so, please step to the microphone, give your name and address for the record. Are there any comments from members of council before we?
Yes, sure. Yes, Mr. Vice President, I'd like to mention that this text amendment was brought before Planning and Zoning last Thursday. I'd like to commend the staff of Alan Besco's. Thank you for attending that meeting and for your input. And, you know, we have a process in the city, and it's great when it's done in a respectful manner and in a correct way. And I really appreciate your comments. One of the comments brought before Planning and Zoning was simply the fact, in the 30 years you've had your inflatable, there was a worry that other people might put up inflatables all over the city and it become Cartoonville. There's no one else has ever put up an inflatable that you could even recall. So, and that was pretty convincing argument for that. And so Planning and Zoning, I would report that they did vote 4-0 to endorse this. So as the chair of Planning and Zoning, I respect their wishes as well, and I'll be voting in favor of this tonight.
Fantastic. Any other comments? Any other comments? Before we vote, I would have we had the motion yet to approve? We have had
Yes.
the motion to approve. And the second?
Yes.
That was Councilman Louderback. I would like to say that I certainly want us to have a reputation as Xenia City Council of being pro-business and certainly pro-Xenia business, so I am glad that we were able to get this worked out. And Mr. Duke, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
Vice President Wallace.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. At this time, we will open up, well, we've already done the public hearing. Let me see. Thank you. Next, we have Resolution 2019 KK, second reading, authorizing the amendment to the 2018 CDBG allocation grant and further authorizing use of CDBG program income from the city's Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund for the Shawnee Park Playground and Equipment Project, introduced by President Engel on 10/24/19, and in his absence, I will move the approval.
Thank you. I'll second.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. This time, we will, and this one also has a public hearing.
Yes, sir.
And at this time, we will open the public hearing. If there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this resolution, if so, please step to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this resolution? Is there anyone who wishes to speak against this resolution? If so, please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record. This time, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion, and we have the motion on the floor. And second, the council, is there any discussion from us at this time? Seeing none, Mr. Duke, will you please call the roll?
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilman Dean. Aye. Mayor Mays.
Aye.
Vice President Wallace.
Aye.
Motion carried.
This time, a resolution, an emergency resolution authorizing the city manager to accept the Victims of Crime Act and the State Victims Assistance Act grants for 2020 and declaring an emergency. And Madam Law Director, would you please enlighten us on this grant? The good news is it's a grant accepting money, so would you give us the details beyond that point?
This is a resolution that we present to you every year. We are doing it a little bit earlier this year. Typically, you do this in December. We brought it to you now because the sooner we accept the grant, and the reason we're asking you to do it as an emergency, is the sooner we accept it, the sooner we get the money. This money is used to pay salary for the victim advocates and the supervisor. Services that we provide through the law department for victim advocate are services we are required to provide under the state constitution and under state law. We have applied for and gotten these grant awards since 1998. We did see a reduction in funding this year. There are two reasons for that. Funding at a federal level for victim assistance grants has been reduced. So victim advocate programs across the country saw a reduction in their funding. But another reason we got less is we asked for less. Some changes we've been making in the law department over the last couple of years, we have reduced costs in that department. So for 2020, for the federal grant, we were awarded $169,931. That will fund the salary and benefits for the employees over there. The local match on that is $42,482, and that's actually over a $3,000 reduction from last year's match. This resolution also authorizes acceptance of the state assistance grant. That's a little under, last year I think it was about $5,000, we got $4,000 this year. We use that money for the cell phones, for after-hour emergency calls. That also pays office supplies, printing of certain materials, and a small emergency fund. So if you will approve this tonight as an emergency, we can have the city manager sign the necessary documents and get the grant fund in.
Thank you, Madam Law Director. Do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2019
So moved.
LL as an emergency?
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you, Councilman Lauterbach.
Second.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council, any discussion on this motion? Yes, sir.
Just a comment, I've always supported our victim advocate program, and you guys have always been good about getting grants. So it's much, as a matter of fact, I recently became a volunteer for the Greene County Prosecutor Victim Advocate Program, and I'm looking forward to working with them on that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Mr. Duke, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilman Dean. Aye. Mayor May.
Aye.
Vice President Wallace.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next is our ordinance number 2019-22, amending Chapter 678 and Sections 48.03 and 618.11 and 1062.03, and repealing Chapter 604 and related provisions of the City of Xenia codified ordinances to comply with Ohio Revised Code, Section 9.68. Madam Law Director, you're in the box.
I apologize, I've written you a small book.
I was gonna say, you're not gonna read
Yeah.
all this.
Yeah. Well, what this is the state, a number of years ago, started to preempt local regulation regarding guns. You know how I feel about preemption of local laws. We are a home rule city. I think it's up to our residents and our citizens to decide those matters for themselves. The city of Columbus passed a challenge filed a challenge in late 2008. The General Assembly passed House Bill 228, and that made some changes to Section 968 of the Ohio Revised Code. Specifically, it preempted local regulations regarding manufacturing, taxation, keeping, and reporting of a loss of theft of firearms. We also cannot regulate ownership, possession, purchase, other acquisition, transport, storage, carrying, sale, or other transfer of firearms, their components, or ammunition. One of the things that House Bill 228 did was it added a provision to 968 that if we have any ordinances on our books that attempt to regulate any of those things, anyone can bring a challenge. We are on the hook for penalties. We are on the hook for attorney fees. So the most important thing to do right now is to get any offending provisions out of our ordinances to protect the city from liability. That's part of the reason this was so thick. We actually didn't have that many ordinances that attempted to regulate any of those things. The biggest part of this was Chapter 604, which was definitions. Our definitions regarding firearms, dangerous ordinances, conflicted with state law. So we need to get those off the books. The deadline is December 28th. That's why we're introducing this to you tonight. I gave you a pretty thorough rundown in the cover memo of every section that we had that dealt with firearms in any way, what changes we're making, whether we're repealing them. Columbus, as I said, did file a challenge to 228 that it is an invalid step on the municipality's home rule powers. That case is not scheduled to be resolved until sometime next year. So what most cities across the state are doing right now is what we're doing with this ordinance, is getting those parts off the books. There are most of our criminal ordinances mirror state law. I'll just pull one example out of what I gave you. We have an ordinance on the books that mirrors state law that you cannot transport a loaded, unencased firearm on a snowmobile. Well, that regulates transport. So even though it's based on state law, I'm suggesting that we take it off our ordinances. That does not mean someone can't still get in trouble for that. They just be cited under state law rather than under city ordinance. So there are a couple like that. Just because we're pulling them out of our ordinances doesn't mean they're now legal.
Right.
It just means that person would have to be cited under state law. So I did go into a lot of detail in the cover memo. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Would one of my colleagues like to introduce the ordinance?
Introduce it.
Thank you, Councilman Jean. And did anyone have any questions at all? Thank you so much. Next is an administrative motion authorizing the city manager to execute agreements with the Ohio Association of Professional Firefighters for the establishment and administration of a Section 4579 deferred compensation plan for eligible employees. Mr. Finance Director.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. For many years, the city has allowed employees to contribute to a 457B plan through Ohio Deferred Compensation. It essentially allows employees to save for retirement, contribute toward retirement on a pre-tax basis. A few years ago, a couple of our firefighters approached us about another plan through the Ohio Association of Professional Firefighters, which was a similar type of a plan, and asked that we consider allowing employees to invest through that plan. At the time we evaluated the plan, the fees were much higher than Ohio deferred compensation, and really the advantages of those particular funds that were part of that plan didn't merit us adding that as an option. They recently asked us to reevaluate that plan. They'd made some changes to the structure, and we found that the fee structure now is much more competitive, and there were some options in that plan that made sense for some of our employees, one of those being a Roth IRA option. And our current Ohio deferred compensation package does not allow that. Now, Ohio deferred comp is working toward a Roth option, but it isn't in place today. Being that we found that there were some advantages to this plan, we decided that it would be advantageous for us to allow our employees to invest through this plan as well as in addition to the current Ohio deferred compensation plan. There isn't any fee or cost to the city in doing this. It's essentially another deduction that we would take from their check. And so tonight we are requesting that council approve all the documentation that would allow employees to invest in the plan. I want to clarify that this is, even though it's through the Firefighters Association, it is not limited to firefighters. Any city employee who would like to contribute to their retirement through this plan will be able to do it. They could do it in lieu of the deferred compensation, or they could actually do it in addition to as well. They could contribute to both plans if they desire to do that. And so we're requesting the council authorize the paperwork for us to allow our employees to contribute in that way through that plan.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Louderback. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. Any discussion on the motion at this time? Yes, sir.
Just a comment. It's no secret, in my opinion, City of Xenia employees are one of the lowest paid in the area, and that includes the benefits. And it's kind of, if you really break it down, it's kind of embarrassing that our new hires on their benefits get a 70-30 plan, where most cities are on an 80-20 or 85-15. So anytime we can help our employees with benefits like this, I'm all for it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Totally agree with Councilman Louderback. Madam Mayor, do you have a couple? Anybody else? Councilman Dean? Councilman Smith? Mr. Duke, please call the roll.
Councilman Louderback?
Aye.
Councilman Smith?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
Vice President Wallace?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Administrative motion awarding the bid and authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with Phillips Companies for the Charles Young Buffalo Soldiers National Monument Sanitary Sewer Project. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, sir. In 2017, the city was approached by officials from the National Parks Service seeking assistance with a new sewer service lateral to serve the Charles Young Buffalo Soldiers National Monument located at 1120 US 42, just northeast of the city limits. Park Service is willing to cover all costs associated with the project, and so there are no city funds to be expended. Financing will be provided through, on a reimbursement basis, so we'd cover the upfront cost and would be reimbursed for that. Park Service is also willing to cover all the costs associated with the, not just the construction, but the engineering and so forth as well. Because the nearest city sewer is on the other side of US 42, we thought it would be most prudent to extend the main rather than a 500-foot lateral. So in essence, this would be installation of additional main down along 42, which serves as a strategic advantage for the city because that expands the capacity we have for that sewer service out in that direction. So we felt like there was an economic development opportunity there. City engineering staff supported the proposal for the extension of the sewer main. And we submitted or put on the street a request for bids. On October 16th of this year, 5 bids were open from qualified contractors to complete the work. With the bidding documents, we requested the base bid plus an alternate, which would be for the provision to jack and bore under US 42 if rock were to be encountered during excavation due to some of the soil samples. They felt like that might be a problem. So we did request bids for the base as well as the alternate. The lowest bid received for both was from Phillips Companies at the prices indicated in the agenda report. in order to ensure the adequate funds are available to complete the installation of the sanitary sewer main, if rock is encountered during the excavation under 42, our engineering staff is requesting an award of the alternate bid at the $108,000 price point. And we recommend that bid be awarded to Phillips Companies. With these facts in mind, we recommend council take action this evening to award that bid and authorize a contract with Phillips Companies at the cost not to exceed $108,162.05.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Lauterbach. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilman Dean.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So who reimburses the city then for this?
This would be the federal government. And this was
Federal
somewhat
government, okay.
unusual for us. We'd not encountered this particular circumstance, and so we've been kind of running through the process of determining how we register this as an asset and so forth. So the federal government, through the Park Service, will reimburse the city, but the infrastructure being installed will be the city's asset and the city's property.
So I know we usually go with the lowest bid, but the best bid would be what I would want on this.
Yes,
Is
and
that-
in this
is
case,
is the
yeah,
best too?
absolutely.
Okay.
Phillips, we've got a
Gotcha.
lot of experience
Right,
with Phillips
yeah.
companies, and
That's
well
local
reputed.
Phillips?
Yep.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, the Buffalo Soldiers Museum is owned by the United States Park Service, and it's an asset that attracts a lot of, some traffic and some tourism, and we
Very nice.
appreciate that. I'm glad to have the opportunity to comply with their request, and certainly to do it at no cost to the city. Any other comments? No other comments? Mr. Duke, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
Vice President Wallace.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next, we have an administrative motion approving an infrastructure development agreement with the Greene County Career Center Board of Education for development of the site bordered by Union Road, US Route 35, and US 68. Mr. City Manager, would you please give us some details on this long-awaited and very welcome?
It has been a long time coming. We are pleased to present to council this agenda item in conjunction with the Greene County Career Center, which is well underway with construction for their new campus, again, which will be located adjacent to US 68 and 35, the interchange on the south side of the city. As authorized by ORC 71502 and per city policy, an infrastructure development agreement, or IDA, between the city and the Career Center is appropriate and necessary to articulate specific roles and responsibilities related to site build-out, and particularly for the infrastructure to service the site. After an arduous negotiation process, the city and the Career Center have arrived at mutually acceptable terms and language for the IDA, and we are quite excited by that. Pursuant to the agreement, the Career Center must convey to the city the necessary right-of-way for the utilities, as well as roadway infrastructure and for installation of those. This conveyance was initiated through the plating process with planning and zoning. As stipulated in the IDA, the city will install all the necessary water, sanitary sewer, and roadway improvements at the site. I am told that the Career Center Board of Education, at their meeting last night, entertained a motion to authorize the agreement and was approved. So it has been approved on their end. We are recommending City Council consider the item this evening and move for approval of an administrative motion to authorize the agreement at long last.
Amen. Council, any discussion on this motion? Hear it? Yes, sir.
You're a lot more diplomatic than I am. You use the word arduous. Yeah, I've got other words for it. I'd like the public to know, this has been a long, drawn-out process. The voters of Greene County agreed for a new career center. And in my opinion, the upper echelon of the Greene County Career Center has acted in bad bargaining faith. This has been a big hassle, and now I'm glad they approved it, because if they heard me talk tonight, they might not. Because it's just, and to this day, I do not understand why they were so adamant against this. So you guys have you hung in there, you've done a good job, but I don't think I could have had the patience you had.
I just add, I'd want to thank the law director and the city engineer who've been instrumental in the process to dealing with the nuances associated with this. The big holdup really was getting the right-of-way dedicated. Obviously, the city needs dedicated right-of-way to put water and sewer lines and the roadway in.
Exactly.
And the roadway was important for the school, and it's also important for our community because it provides a necessary access point between 380 and 68, and it improves the marketability of the Green Regional Business Park. And of course, we're partners with the county in trying to build that center out. It has been a difficult process. I do want to thank the Career Center leadership for sticking with us. This will benefit them, this will benefit us. We have a little bit of work to do to repair that relationship, and we will commence with that right away because they are a very important and necessary partner here locally. Our educational partners are crucial to the success of our community, and so we'll continue to work with them to rebuild that relationship because it's important that they are successful at their new site here in Xenia. And we're thrilled to have them, honestly, thrilled to have them and the services they're providing in our community.
Absolutely.
Was that diplomatic enough, Mr. Lauderberg?
Thank you, thank you. Any further comments? No further comments? Mr. Duke, would you please call the roll?
Do we have a motion?
We don't have a motion
Yeah,
yet.
motion.
Okay, the mayor's moving. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilman Dean. Mr. Duke, call the roll.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Smith?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor May?
Aye.
Vice President Wallace?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Very good. Next, we have an administrative motion. Authorizing the city manager to execute work order number 2019-01 with a quantum network.
Mr. Vice
Did I
President.
skip one?
Yeah, item F.
F.
It should be a second item related to the Career Center.
Okay. Approving the final plat for the Greene County Career Center. City manager, would you please further detail that one?
Absolutely. So in conjunction with the prior item, the Career Center has submitted a final plat for its new campus, and that essentially lays out the platting for the site and does include the dedicated right-of-way for the infrastructure for both water and sewer as well as the roadway. And this is all required pursuant to our Land Development Code. The proposed plat was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission on November 7th and was endorsed by the commission with the conditions that the infrastructure development agreement be executed, that the plat be recorded by the Career Center, and public improvement design drawings be approved by the city prior to construction of said improvements. Want to thank the city planner for his work in working with the Career Center to get this component of it done. With council's approval of this tonight, we will have everything executed. It will allow us to move forward immediately on the work, the utility work, and our hope is to get that started yet this fall before winter really sets in. So we recommend introduction of the item and consideration this evening.
Fantastic. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Madam Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Lauterbach. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'll just piggyback on what city manager said. This was presented to planning and zoning as their second item last Thursday, and it was approved 4-0. It's really a no-brainer. It's a good plan.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mr. Duke, please call the roll.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Smith?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor May?
Aye.
Vice President Wallace?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next, we have another administrative motion authorizing the city manager to execute work order number 2019-01 with Quantum Network Integrators LLC for fiber installation services under the existing master services agreement. Mr. Finance Director.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Council, I'm sure, recalls that a few weeks ago, staff requested that you approve a master services agreement with Quantum. And at that point, we said that you weren't actually authorizing any project or work to be done, that we'd bring that back to council. We are requesting tonight approval of a work order for a project that, this is the start of a project that ultimately will connect our Spring Hill Water Tower. It will connect the OVCH lift station. It will connect Green Regional Business Park. It will connect our Patton Street Water Tower. It will actually get fiber into our existing industrial park. And it will also connect Ford Road wastewater plant, which will help us to connect to Mavecca, who is our current ISP internet service provider, that will allow us to basically be completely independent of Spectrum and not relying on them for any transport costs, and it'll reduce greatly our monthly fees for internet services. This portion that we're requesting tonight, and I believe there's a map that shows exactly which portions of the project we're requesting as a part of this work order, but the work being done, or that we're requesting be approved tonight, is for fiber that's in the right-of-way that the city currently owns, that we have access to. We will come back at a later point and request additional work to be done that is on private property, for example, at Athletes in Action, Legacy, with Greene County, and also negotiating some agreements with Xenia Township in right-of-way. Obviously, the Ford Road plant is not within city limits. So as we negotiate all those pieces, those easements and agreements that will allow us access onto those properties, we'll bring that back to you. But we didn't want to delay work. We want to get the ball rolling on this. I think we had mentioned at the last meeting that our partner, Mavecca, plans to provide internet services to the Career Center. And so it's important that we begin as soon as possible to start getting fiber in the ground so that we can meet some of those deadlines. And also, the sooner that we connect to Mavecca directly, the sooner we eliminate some of those transport costs. So a lot of what's being requested today is down Progress from our 2nd Street connection, and then on the bike path over around Home Avenue to Monroe, and then from Monroe over to Lake Street. They're adjacent to Athletes in Action and Legacy Christian there. So we are requesting tonight approval of a work order. This is a not-to-exceed amount of $141,777.09. Again, I think it's important to note that as a part of this project, we're using water and sewer dollars. The next piece that we bring back will be partially paid for by the county grant to get that line into the industrial park, the Green Regional Business Park. And so those connections to our water towers, our lift stations, some of those water sewer assets will give us additional reliability and redundancy. It will help us to better monitor those different pieces or those different assets. And it also will set the stage for us to ultimately roll out an automated meter reading system that's a fixed-based system that will allow us to pull meter readings in real time, provide a lot higher level service to our customers, where we can, tell them within an hour's time that they may have a leak instead of waiting, for that monthly read as we drive by. So a lot of enhanced capacity as well for our water sewer system from this fiber project. It can also ultimately build out and do things like notify us of pressure drops, things like that, as we add sensors to our system and things of that nature. So a lot of positive things for our water sewer infrastructure here as well.
That's it?
That's it.
Well, let's get a motion on the floor. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Louderback. A second?
Yeah.
Councilman Dean, thank you, sir. Any discussion on this motion?
Yeah, so Project A, Section 1, that's the yellow highlighted section. So that would start at Xenia Station and run to down Home Avenue to Summit Street. Is that right on that first page? What we're paying for is going to be that yellow section, right?
Yes. So, well, you would be paying for the yellow section as well as the first page there, that brown, red, and blue. So this 144,000 is that yellow section down Progress.
Got that.
And then on the other side on the other side, there's another map.
Yeah.
There should be, that is a brown run there down the bike path, basically from Xenia Station.
To the red, but the red's not part of this project. That's later.
The red is part of the project.
Oh, it is part of
The red
it,
and the
too?
blue as well. Yeah, those
Oh,
are just
okay.
different sections
Okay, I
that we've
thought that
got
was a
there, but,
different project. Okay.
but all of that you see there is a part of this project. And then the second part would actually be going from Lake Street over to the Green Regional Business Park, as well as connecting our Patton Street Tower and the other industrial park. and then there's another section that'll run out to Ford Road. So those sections will be in future work orders we'd bring
So,
to you.
This has already been bid out then, or are we just executing the money?
Yeah, so we've already bid it out. The way we bid this is there's a price per foot, and
Okay.
the different pieces of equipment. So say there's a vault, we've got a specific price for that vault.
No,
So-
I just thought that was pretty ambitious to get this done by February, so are they able to do that in this kind of weather?
Yeah, I mean, some of
Ground's not
it's
frozen yet.
dependent on the weather, but for this section, I think it's pretty doable. A lot of it depends on weather and whether or not they run into any major snags. I mean,
Gotcha.
their bike path run is actually fairly decent. They shouldn't run into a whole lot there. Some of the other runs, you know, especially when you're downtown, there's some debris, you know, maybe from the tornado or older structures that you don't know about. But so there always can be, you know, there can always be some things that you run into that you're not, you know, expecting. But it is ambitious. I think it's doable. In the end, we really just need to be to that industrial park,
Sure.
you know, by March, you know, April, somewhere in that time frame for their contractors and then ultimately for the school to open.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments? I would like to applaud the city administration for the work that they've done on this. And do we have any estimate yet as to the amount of money we're going to save overall from our spectrum bill? And not to mention that we're going to be able to provide extremely high-speed, quality service, ISPs, service to our industrial park and other neighbors and partners and businesses.
Sure. So just in savings and monthly payments to our ISP, it's about $1,000 a month. So about $12,000 annually that we're saving in what we pay Spectrum. That's just for our main internet connection. That doesn't include services or fees we may be paying to, say, Verizon for connections at our lift station and some of those other fees. So those aren't quite the same significant level of cost, but then on the backside, we're also hoping to contract with some of these partners, like Athletes in Action, for example, where they would pay us a fee for providing the service. We're running right by their data center. And so it doesn't take a whole lot for us to get into their data center from a cost standpoint. And we actually have additional bandwidth available right now. We don't use all of our excess capacity. So there's not any additional fee for bandwidth that we're already purchasing. We'd just be reselling that. So there's some additional revenue that could be had there. And then as we start to develop a relationship with other institutional partners, that would only enhance the revenue that would be available there. There are some other partners at Legacy we plan on having conversations with. Once we get into that main data center, it connects to every building on that campus. So it really gives us the ability to partner with some of them. But we're taking, you know, smaller steps, trying to talk to some of the larger institutional partners who would be larger users of the service, and then we'll start talking to some of the others who may have smaller needs than some of the bigger institutional users.
Awesome. Mr. Duke, would you please call the roll?
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Smith?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
Vice President Wallace?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next, we have an administrative motion calling, approving the schedule of bills in the amount of $1,063,725.41. Mr. Finance Director.
Yeah, just note that there are two major expenditures on the schedule of bills, and that's the reason for the large amount. There's a significant amount, $382,000 for the Garcia OVCH lift station, and then there's also debt service payment for the facility projects from 2015. So those two expenditures for debt service are why that the schedule of bills is abnormally large this meeting.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilman Smith?
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Duke, please call the roll.
Councilman Lauterbach?
Aye.
Councilman Smith?
Aye.
Councilman Dean?
Aye.
Mayor Mays?
Aye.
Vice President Wallace?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Next, we have appointed officials' reports and council comments. Mr. City Manager, we'll start with you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Just a couple of reminders for our citizens. Xenia's Hometown Christmas will be November 23rd from 1 to 5 p.m. Those activities will take place downtown, centered around the administration building that we're in here, as well as other activities through the downtown. Santa and Santa's Cottage will be located here at the CAB complex from 1 to 5 p.m. We will have live Christmas music performed by Xenia High School Ensemble. Be horse and carriage rides available, food trucks with holiday-themed menus, a station for crafts, downtown scavenger hunt will be taking place, coloring contest, as well as, and we really want to stress this, an area for folks to write letters to the U.S. Air Force Airmen. We want to encourage folks to participate and do that. Downtown businesses are also participating in the annual Winter Window Wonderland competition, so we encourage folks to vote for their favorite festive scene with those decorations. These activities will culminate at 5:30 with the lighting of a Christmas tree here at the city administration building. So we encourage folks to come out and participate. Also to support your downtown businesses. Lots of unique niche gifts that can be purchased downtown here, and we encourage folks to do so starting here in a couple weeks. Our leaf collection program is underway for this year again. The official start time is for the first round for Zone 1 is November 18th through the 22nd. For Zone 2 from November 25th through the 29th. They're already out doing some initial spot pickups, testing some of the equipment that they've had repaired. But the official first round, again, Zone 1, which is all areas north of Main Street, is November 18th through the 22nd. Zone 2, which includes areas south of Main, November 25th through the 29th. They'll do a second round in Zone 1, December 2nd through the 6th. In Zone 2, December 9th through the 13th. Mother Nature has already thrown us a bit of a curveball with the snow we've gotten this week, but we encourage folks to get the leaves out, and we will get them picked up as soon as we can. And finally, just wanted to acknowledge Xenia High School football team for an excellent season. Talked with the mayor, and we'll be looking at some ways that we'd like to recommend council recognize the success of their football season this year and doing our community proud. So just want to give a shout out to the football team and thank them for their hard work this year. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Mr. Finance Director.
I don't have anything else this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Finance Director. Madam Law Director.
The first thing this evening, I'd just like to take a minute to recognize, I was at an event in Greenville, Ohio, in the early fall, and ended up talking to a gentleman whose father had been in Xenia in 1974, had been here about a week after the tornado had hit. And he offered to send me copies of the pictures his father had taken. I didn't hear any more from him, had kind of forgotten about it. And today in the mail, he sent copies of pictures, pretty amazing. The high school, the old furniture store, Detroit Street. So I just wanted to thank Mr. Clerk for taking the time to send those to us. We now have those for the city archives for our records. I thought that was very nice of him to do. Second thing, as I'm sure you're aware, my prosecutor is about to be our next municipal court judge. He will take over on January 1st. So that is a position we are going to need to fill. Working with some of the other local political subdivisions, working with the finance department, we put an advertisement out today. We are going to be filling that position full-time. The contracts we've been able to negotiate with the other political subdivisions, we think we'll hopefully be able to get someone in there at little to no increase in cost. Just an effort, we continue to move forward with trying to provide a better level of service through the law department, so you should see that advertisement go live tomorrow. So we'll keep you posted on how that search goes. And that was all I had this evening.
Thank you, Madam Law Director. Now it's Council.
Mr. Knight.
Yes, sir.
I had a question, procedural question. Now, when can BESCO now put up their inflatable?
30 days from
30 days
tonight's
from
date.
today.
30 days from today. Okay, and I understand.
I put the effective date on the front of that, December 14th.
December 14th, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it's time for council comment, and Mr. Lauterbach, you're first on there.
Actually, I have nothing this evening.
You have nothing.
Yeah.
All right, Councilman Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. In absence tonight, President Engel had asked me to mention the hometown Christmas, but I think you covered pretty much all of that. You did mention the carriage rides?
Briefly.
Okay,
But I did
so-
mention there is a dollar charge.
Yeah, there's a small charge for the carriage rides, but they'll be going on majority of the time? Yes. And then the Christmas tree topper, I'm supposed to mention, that was built by Greene County Career Center students?
Yes.
Okay. And the Santa Claus house is going to be in the parking lot right here at City Hall.
Yeah, our parking
Okay.
lot will be closing late Friday afternoon to
Okay.
facilitate that. So.
Okay, but I should mention, there is no parade. Correct. Okay, so we don't want people to be disappointed and line the streets and there not be a parade. So that's been next. The other thing, you did congratulate the football team. Thank you for doing that. So you covered two of my three things. The last item is I got an invitation as a city representative, as a council member, to attend McKinley Elementary School tomorrow at 11. They have a program presented by third graders and Mr. Haney's class, robotics, that they're doing a special presentation. So they just wanted a trial run tomorrow. So if any other council members have free time, and I know everyone's working, but you're welcome to come along with that. And really, other than that, I'm glad we have people in the audience tonight. And we have another council member-elect, Tommy Scrivens is out there. Thank you for coming tonight. And, but again, I appreciate everyone's interest and time in our city. And again, we're doing the best we can, all of us that sit up here with the resources that are given to us. And just wish everyone safe travels next couple weeks. I know we have one more meeting before Thanksgiving, but would again like to tell everyone to, as we move into the holidays, be aware of traffic and weather conditions and looking out for your neighbors. Thank you.
Okay. First, I guess I ought to apologize to the mayor because we normally start with you, but I guess this time.
I'm enjoying life. I'm great.
Okay, Councilman Dean.
I have nothing to add.
All right, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Just a reminder that Xenia High School is putting on a production of Robin Hood, open tonight. We'll also be showing tomorrow and I believe 2 times on Saturday. So I hope that everybody has a chance to go out. And again, as we've talked about our football team, we're so proud of them. We also want to support our friends in the drama Robin Hood. And then also want to congratulate Toward Independence. They did a ribbon cutting last Friday, celebrating some remodeling that they've been doing, a new elevator. And we're very excited for them and the ways they're contributing to our community. So thank you.
Thank you. I guess the first question I've got, and I need to raise it to Keith, I was going to do it afterwards, that they seem to have monitors on that side of the room, and Mr. Louderback and I are cheated and don't
Turn it
have
on.
monitors on ours. Is just turning it on? Okay. All right, in that case, Keith, I apologize.
I didn't know how to turn it on.
I'd never, okay. So you need to give us some training on turning our monitors on.
Mr. Vice President.
Yes.
I also failed to mention, we want to remind the public that your next regular session conflicts with Thanksgiving, so it's been moved up to November 26th, that Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. So if folks are interested in tuning in or attending, it will be on Tuesday and not Thursday.
Very good, very good. Okay, I'm back to my monitors. I guess we need to make sure that Ms. Dean and Mr. Scrivens get instructions on turning the monitors on, so. Okay.
They're not as old as us.
We're the older ones up here. All right. We have an announcement from the Xenia Community Schools. They're inviting members of City Council and the mayor to the ribbon cutting ceremony for Benner Field. The event is on Thursday, November 21st at noon, with a community open house later in the afternoon from 4 to 7 p.m. But if you plan to attend, they're asking that you call Christy Creel, the PR coordinator for Xenia Community Schools, and you can email her at kcreel@xeniaschools.org. kcreel@xeniaschools.org. When Councilman Louderback came in tonight with the beard, I thought maybe I'll explain that I'm participating in, excuse me, No Shave November, which Wilberforce University is sponsoring, and they're doing that to bring attention to prostate cancer. So we need to make folk aware that prostate cancer is a killer of men and a particular killer of black men. And we're trying to bring attention to the fact that we need to get prostate screenings and so forth to hopefully cut down on the rate of death from prostate cancer. So I'm starting to itch under here, but I am gonna stay with it for the rest of November, and I don't know how long my beard will get to be with No Shave November. I think I've covered all of my notes, and I suppose we're ready for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Is there a second? Mr. Duke, call the roll.
Councilman Lauterbach.
Aye.
Councilman Smith.
Aye.
Councilman Dean.
Aye.
Mayor Mays.
Aye.
Vice President Wallace.
Aye,
Motion carried.
we're adjourned.